Hey guys, we are back at it again with another episode of Mtga Misplays. Chris here. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really does mean a lot to me. And so we're going to be playing Mono Red. You've probably seen Mono Red. Historic Mono Red has a lot of nice toys that the standard variant doesn't actually have, though. Looking at our opening hand, we're going to keep. The additional desert is a little slow, but this is a longer grindy game. We might be able to benefit off the 2 damage that can provide. Set it down tapped, pass the turn. Opponent seems to be off to a little bit of a slow start too, which is good for us. Get down a Ramanov Ruins. Get down a Dreadhorde Arcanist. Good old friend, Dreadhorde Arcanist. He is one of my favorite cards. And I know, he's not exactly the funnest card to play against, but he's just so good. So good. We're going to shock in here. I mean, not shock in, shock our little buddy Daxos over there. He is a bad card for Mono Red, because Life Gain is awful, and people who play Life Gain are awful for Mono Red. They're probably nice people, though. So we swing in, we get to use our shock again. This deck has less spells that can benefit from the Dreadhorde Arcanist, but we do have 8 spells that can benefit from the Dreadhorde Arcanist, so that was reason enough for me to try to slot him in here. After all, turning a shock into a spell better than Lightning Bolt by casting it twice, pretty good for us. Light Up the Stage, always a nice addition. Mono Red decks back in the day when Light Up the Stage was in Standard were so much fun, because you could just play your entire hand and then light up the stage, and sometimes you hit another Light Up the Stage and just light up the stages and light up the stages. Daxos kind of lends credence to the theory that it's life gain. So does Heliod, to be honest. Alright, we draw. Gonna play our land from Light Up the Stage. Get down, get to Lava Runner. Then I guess we're gonna just stomp in. We gotta keep as much pressure on our opponent as possible, because they might be, they're like a dedicated life gain deck, which all signs lead to them being a dedicated life gain deck. We can't afford a long game with them, because if they start gaining 2-3 life here, we're gonna need to draw 2-3 more burn spells, and we can't really do that. We can. I mean, we've shown an impressive job at drawing this game, mainly because our hand had 3 Light Up the Stages in the first 10 cards of our deck, which is really insane, but we're going to swing in. If they block, we can remove the Ajani's Pridemate. That way it won't get big enough to actually hurt us. Well, it won't get big enough to where we can't remove it. They decide not to block. Which is probably smart. We were probably holding a burn spell, and they know it. So we just get a card whose name escapes me. Deals 2 damage to a player or planeswalker. And our Bone Crusher Giant. Our opponent's thinking over their options. They have a couple of things that they could do, I assume within 4 cards. We don't know that offhand, though. They might be stuck. Collected Company. That's definitely something to do. Collective Company is one of those powerful cards that can make even terrible decks pretty decent. So they go up to 9. They've gained life, so they're Johnny's. And their Heliod's going to activate. Heliod isn't summoning 6, so he'll probably attack him this turn. Might even get Pridemate to come in with him. Although we could block out a Pride Mate. Can't block out Heliod, though. He is indestructible. Which is something I miss about the God subtype in context with Caladyne. Oh, yeah, looks like we've won the game. They are tapped out, and we have three damage burn spells. That was game 1. Things are looking up for Mono Red Burn in our challenge run. This is a challenge one, by the way. I don't always make that obvious, but we are trying to get to 3 wins. And there it is. The kill. We are moving on to game 2 against Mr. Rolf Trade. Hopefully it'll be a good game. This here is our opening hand. As you can see, we are still drawing our tap lands. I don't know why we draw tap lands. I don't know why we put tap lands in the deck. I mean, I do, because this one will give us an additional 2 damage at a pinch, but, you know, I have to have some hyperbole in the video. Otherwise, nobody would watch. And we need people to watch, right? Maybe, I don't know. It's our opponent's turn. We're going to get a look at what they are actually playing. It's a bit of a mystery to us right now, but we're going to figure it out. Something green-black. This could be Sultai. Well, without Uro, Sultai piles may not be too much of a thing anymore. I haven't got to play as much Historic, so I don't really know how the meta got shaped up after Uro got out of the format. Any of you know, you can tell me a little bit about it in the comments. But we're going to get down some Lava Runners. They can't attack yet. We don't have 2 spells in the graveyard, but they make our Wizard Lightnings pretty good. And chances are, if our opponent is a heavy removal deck, they'll only be able to remove 1 of them this turn. With the Fibblezip Avatar, that means they've been around for a bit. So, they were at least around before the official release. Or, not like the official release, but like the version 1.0. Because there was a time when Wizard gave out the Fibblezip card sleeves and the Avatar to people who had been playing MTGA before, I don't remember what before set it was from, but we didn't draw a land, so we're not going to get in 4 damage with our Lava Runners. We only get to do 2. But we have 6 burn spell damage in hand, so burn decks seem like the easiest decks to pilot because, you know, you're just trying to do 20 damage through spells and creatures, but there's a lot of really complicated decisions in burn style decks that end up making it deceptively a little difficult in context of playing the game. Like, you will have games where you just throw 20 damage at your opponent's base and you win. But there are other games where your opponent is playing creatures and they are playing answers, and you have to decide how you're going to actually divvy up your resources, because there are some creatures that if they stay on the board, you can't actually win the game. So you have to remove them. So you have to be able to identify what threats your opponent has that will end your game of Magic and what threats are perfectly fine to leave around. And that can be a little bit hard for a new player because, like, if you leave your opponent on board with like a questing beast and they play like a Heliod and give it lifelink, 5 life is a big swing for a burn deck to recover from. And there are all kinds of different creatures that either have lifelink themselves or give other creatures lifelink or gain life in some way. So we're going to light up the stage here. Honestly, one of the best cards from that Ravnica set that it's from. I don't remember which one it is. It's from one of the 2. Finally got our 3rd land. Little late, but our Lava Runner comes down. Sad that he can attack this turn. 2 damage would have been useful. And we pass the turn. So it does appear like they are on some kind of Sultai build. What Sultai build, I don't know yet, but it probably... Yeah, from the Tetsuka Umezawa, it's probably a Finn deck. She does not show up in a lot of places. And there is the Finn. Having 1/1s be unblockable isn't that great unless they're actually killing your opponent, and Finn definitely makes them kill your opponent. We have a Skewer the Critics. Fortunately, we're going to have to pay full price for it. Because we want to get in... we want to kill the Finn and be able to attack. Our Dreadhorde Arcanist will go away, which kind of sucks, but... we couldn't afford taking the chance that they wouldn't respond. Because if we attacked and they hadn't blocked, Finn might have been able to stick around, although I guess we could have shocked and then skewered the critics. Or just skewered the critics after the combat, but... this way we're guaranteed to get in 2 damage. I mean, we are trying to race them as fast as possible. And Finn is kind of the build-around of their deck, so if they don't have it, we're good. But of course they actually have another Finn, so... you know how Magic is. Sometimes you're just not that lucky. Although we did draw a Robber of the Rich. Talking about lucky cards in our deck, Robber of the Rich is probably one of them. We might be able to play something off our opponent. We might not, but I think in this case we're actually just going to end up holding the shock in hand so that we can use it as a combat trick. Because if they block with Finn, we can get a second Finn off the deck, and then they really might need to spin their wheels to get where they're going. So they're at least going to block the Robber of the Rich. Looks like they're thinking about blocking more, although they haven't quite figured out how they're going to do it. Finn in front of a blocker, that's what we want to see. And it looks like Tetsuka's going to get in there too. We're going to shock Finn, because when you have such a card where it's a build around for the deck, if you can get rid of it, some decks won't even be able to function at that point, and you'll be able to win. From personal experience, I assume that this Finn Death Touch deck probably can function without Finn. It can probably function pretty well without Finn, because I assume there are Hooded Blightfangs in there. Opponent thinking. Bloodchief Thirst. That is not great for us. We lose our only creature, and now we are on a 20-turn clock from our opponent. But if we can draw three damage burn spells in that time, we win. So we're going to stick around, even though at this point the game is starting to slip away from us. Hold the shock, save the spell. Opponent has 2 cards in hand. Wonder what they are. Hopefully they're not something that gains life or not Finn. They have 3 Finns. That's just bad news for us. Gotta pass the turn to let our opponent play Magic. Ugh, showing my bad side off again. I guess that's kind of what these videos are about, I mean. But we don't have to talk about that here. The dreaded 1/1 ping. We are going down. Slowly but surely our ship is sinking. Just FYI for all you newer players out there that may have stumbled across this video, in your burn deck, you don't want to make it to turn 6. I mean, you might, but you don't want to be the burn deck on turn 6 with 3 lands against your opponent with 5. That's a bad place to be. But we get down I think that's like our 4th Get To Lava Runner. We've had an extremely high draw rate of Get To Lava Runners. Which, hell, I'm not complaining. It's 2 damage. Oh, thank you, opponent. There goes our 2 damage, and instead we get a mountain. We needed a mountain, but would have preferred the 2 damage, honestly. The Bob Ross mountains that were in the store free a while ago. So beautiful. So beautiful. Gonna draw a little picture. It'll be fine. It'll be great. Unfortunately for us, this game will neither be fine nor great, because I think at this point we're gonna need an insanely good top deck to win. I think Hazoret would win us the game. We don't have many copies of Hazoret in our burn deck because 4 mana is a bit steep. But we do have some. I think we have 2. So we're not drawing dead. We also have 2 Chandra Torch of Defiances. That could do pretty well for us. That would get us more cards. It would also get us damage. Because if we don't get something, this little 1/1 might get the job done. We draw our 5th land. So much for deck thinning, am I right? Opponent even helped us out and we couldn't get there in the end. Although there is a lot we can do with this 5 mana. I mean, we could conceivably cast 5 variants of the spell Shock. I think we've already used one of our shocks, so we'd have to draw all our 4 Pillars of Flames, but... Ooh, Shovel. Shovel's bad. Shovel's real bad. Shovel, when a creature dies, they draw a card and gain 3 life. Remember how I was talking about life gain? Shovel's one of those cards we need to kill. Well, there's going to be a bit of a question as to whether or not we can actually kill Shovel, because that shock in hand ain't going to do it. Okie doke, we draw a Robber of the Rich. Now, we play the Robber of the Rich. We have a few lines we could pursue. We could attack and try to get the shock off, but we're actually going to go with the other route, which is to use the shock first to dissuade Shovel from blocking. Because Robber of the Rich will steal a card from the top of our opponent's library. Our opponent, in theory, has better removal than we do. We've seen things like Assassin's Trophy, and I assume they're running other things as well. We also saw Blood Chief Thirst, so... we didn't hit anything, did we? That's a bit of a bummer. That means our line was wrong. We've achieved misplay. Our opponent draws. They are thinking over their options. I assume they have more than us. Hey, look at that. A Binding of the Old Gods. Wonder if that was in their library or in their hand. If it was in their library, we could have gotten rid of Shovel if that land that was on top was only in their hand instead. But no, we lose our Robber of the Rich. Shovel gets to live. Can't even swing in next turn to try to steal something. We get a Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike's good. Lightning Strike will actually get rid of Shovel. Although, we are still on a 14-turn clock, so Lightning Strike doesn't solve all of our problems. But it solves an immediate problem. And hell, that's all we can hope for at the moment. Immediate problems are the problems that are going to kill us. Or leave us dead in the water, which is essentially being killed in Magic the Gathering. Look at that, they got a breeding pool off of a saga. Hey, look at Shovel. Shovel's cool. It's not like I spent a turn killing Shovel. And we concede. That was game 2. Okay, guys, and here we are on the final game of the episode, I guess. Not the series. I was going to say series, but I don't know why. We're going to keep this going, though. That's our opening hand. Looks pretty decent. A little too tappy for my like, but we are beggars at this point. We're just trying to get that second game win so that we can say that Mono Red went 2-1 and that everybody should play Mono Red because it's such a fun and interactful deck. Interactful. That is a word. Don't question me on it. We play our Ramanov Ruins, one of the few lands in our hand that can actually enter the play untapped. Get down a Robber of the Rich. Robber of the Rich is a really good card, but it's also a mythic, which means if you didn't open a lot of them, you probably don't want to play it. And the value that it gives you is a little situational too. Like, it depends on what's on top of the opponent's deck, and like, I don't always even trust my own deck building. Why would I trust somebody else's? And to be fair, there are some net decks out there, but still not enough for me to trust them. Play a tap land, get in with our Robber of the Rich. Second time's a charm. Maybe we'll hit like something good. No? Okay. Well, we're fine. We're fine. This is all fine. Whatever that foretell card is, I'm assured that it's something nice that our opponent's going to do for us. And not a Doomscar that's waiting to murder us. Hey, look, Prison Realm. That was used on Nicol Bolas, right? It's probably a little bit too complex for Robber of the Rich, don't you think? But it is a good card. I can see why it would be used. Trying to decide whether or not to Lightning Strike. Guess I don't. Doesn't really matter much, honestly. The only thing with Lightning Strike was their face, and no real reason to do that. Well, there is. We want them to die, but we also don't want them to die. I don't know where that was going. Okay, we might edit that out. We might not. Editor me. I know you're not happy with me most of the time, but I do my best. Okay. Let's see what they're gonna do. Birth of Meletis. That is a good card. I like that card. I run it in a lot of my control style blue-white piles. Grabs your planes, wall, 2 life. All good things. Hey, Chandra Torture Defiance. That is a good card. Let's see what we exile off the top of our library. Something good. Mountain is not good, but it is 2 damage. Turning a mountain into a shock is good. So we get him down to 6. We have a Chandra on board. Have a Skewer the Critics in hand. We are 3 damage from closing out this game. Excellence Binding. Another good card. It means that if we draw another Chandra, it's just a dead card, but because we're running so few, I don't think we will. Get to Lava Runner. Let's see if we can bluff in an attack. We swing. They block. Our bluff has been called. We did not bluff hard. We're just going to skewer their face. Now, Wah is insignificant to us. I mean, technically speaking, we have the kill on field. Well, actually, we don't. We did. Because we could have, over the course of 2 turns, sacrificed our deserts for 4 damage. And Ixaline's Binding on the Get to Lava Runner. Wow, they must be running 4 of those. Maybe they're only running 3 because we exiled 1, and we're just gonna use the Ramanov ruins. That was a hard thought process to process. Sacrificing our tap desert. This will deal 2 damage, which means that they are a 3-mana burn spell away from losing the game. They Field of Ruin our Ramanov ruins. Why? Because I guess they don't want to take 2 damage. I mean, when you're sitting at 3 against a burn deck, probably dead anyways, but insurance is insurance. That means we can't just draw a shock and kill them. And we drew a Skewer the Critics. That is game. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been, I think, part 5 in our series Mtga Misplays, and we've gotten our second 2-1. So, if you liked what you see, remember to leave a like, subscribe, leave me a comment down below, and we'll be playing more decks in the future. Goodbye for now, guys.